This week in Jamaica Now, shock. A man, his pregnant wife, and their son are shot dead at their home. The government asks for patience as a new gun law is being implemented. Public funds, not tax dollars, though. The government gives more information on how the SSL fraud probe is being covered.
I don't apologize for speaking the truth.
No apology. Dayton Campbell says he will not back down from comments about nationwide radio despite strong criticisms. And a parliamentary committee starts work on finalizing job descriptions for members of parliament. I'm Jovan Johnson, and this is Jamaica Now. We begin with the shocking murder of a family in Spanish Town, St. Catherine this week. A man, his pregnant wife, and their son were tied up and shot dead in the early hours of Tuesday morning at their home in Waterloo, Spanish Town. They have been identified as 43-year-old Omar Wellington, who worked at an auto parts store, his 35-year-old wife and cashier Sharon, and their 16-year-old son Orlando. He was a student of Innswood High School in St. Catherine. A man was shot and killed by the police on Wednesday morning during an operation targeting suspects. The man has been identified so far as Gaza. Now, the police believe the triple murder may have been linked to gang conflicts in the area.
Hands of the victims were bound, and that, based on their experience as senior investigators, suggests a direction that they should be looking at in terms of the investigation. But there are a very competent team of investigators on this case, and I think the effort right now is to see how best they can find the person or persons responsible so that they can get some closure for the family. A lot of persons are mourning. We're just into the back to school time now, and the school has lost a student. So we really want to appeal to individuals. We're of the opinion that there might be persons in the community who are aware of who the perpetrators may be, and we would love for them to give us the information, whatever information they have, so that we can arrest those persons individually as quickly as possible.
And National Security Minister Dr Horace Chang is calling for patience with the 10-month-old gun law, the Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act. The law prescribes a mandatory minimum 15-year sentence for illegal possession of a firearm. Dr Chang acknowledged that the law, which came into effect in November last year, has not had any significant impact so far. He said the majority of cases going through the system now are those brought under the old law. 25-year-old Danica Davis, otherwise called Kim of Bryan Spees in Clarendon, has been charged with the September 3 murder of her mother, 60-year-old Myrtla Abbott Sappleton, otherwise called Myrtie. The Frankfield police say Miss Davis confessed to the crime. It's alleged that the two had an argument during which Miss Davis attempted to strangle her mother with a piece of electrical wire. The police say Mrs. Abbott Sappleton tried to free herself, and the knife was brought into play and used to inflict stab wounds to her upper body. The Finance Ministry says the money being spent in the Stocks and Securities Limited SSL fraud investigation comes from assets confiscated from criminals and funds from the Financial Services Commission FSC. Finance Minister Dr Nigel Clark sought to make it clear that neither of those sources involved monies collected in taxes.
The resources that will be used to temporarily and on a short-term basis pay SSL salaries and expenses, which facilitates the maintenance of client accounts and facilitates the investigation, will not be from the government of Jamaica's tax revenues. The resources in this regard will be from the FSC. The FSC is self-financing. It does not receive the proceeds of tax revenues, and it has approximately $1.8 billion in reserves.
Dr. Clark says the Financial Investigations Division FID has $300 million set aside in a special account arising from the confiscation of ill-gotten gains under Jamaica's Proceeds of Crime legislation. He says the money has been earmarked to fund the expansion of the building occupied by the FID, as well as to fund the extraordinary expenses incurred by the FID in the SSL fraud investigation. Now, anti-corruption campaigner and executive director of the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal, Jeanette Calder, has questioned the distinction being made by the government, noting that funds being held by agencies of government belong to the public. Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson has maintained his call for Dr. Clark to give a full breakdown of the costs involved in the investigation.
Each day, more information emerges on the extent of the role being played by the government and its agencies in footing the bill for the investigations. The government needs to be completely transparent and come clean with the public about these expenditures. Specifically, we would like the Minister of Finance to state the cost to the government for engaging the forensic auditing firm, Kroll Associates, the cost to the government for engaging the receiver manager, and any other expenditures being paid for by the government in pursuit of these investigations.
A week ago, Dr. Clark disclosed that it would cost at least $15 million to cover the cost of the wages and some operational expenses at SSL after staff protested the non-payment of salaries in August. He said the financial support is to ensure that the investigation is not disrupted. Dr. Clark said he would give an update on the cost at a later date. People's National Party PNP President Mark Golding has defended his party's General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell for saying that radio station Nationwide News Network is an incubator for the ruling Jamaica Labour Party. The government and the Press Association of Jamaica have condemned Dr. Campbell's comment, arguing that it endangers journalists. PAJ President Milton Walker described Dr. Campbell's utterances as irresponsible and dangerous. And on Wednesday, Information Minister Robert Morgan had this to say.
We wholeheartedly condemn any attempts to intimidate, threaten members of the media to prevent them from doing their work. These threats not only put the lives of Jamaican citizens at risk, but has a chilling effect in allowing the media to do their work. We state clearly, our government believes in the free press, and we will do everything in our power to protect press freedom.
But the PNP president slammed the Press Association for what he calls its reprehensible stance in response to Dr. Campbell. He said Dr. Campbell's statement on a political platform was a fair comment. Dr. Campbell says he will not apologize or retract the comment.
I'm sitting here with journalists. None of you in here can say you've ever had an interaction with me that has been unpleasant. I've seen instances where Juliet Cuthbert hung up her phone on Andre Williams, right? I've seen instances where Everett Warmington flipped the bird to the media and do all sorts of things. What I said is that, and you can look at it for yourself, look at how that radio station carries the news. Just listen to their programs. And the truth is that since I've made that comment, persons from within the media space have said they don't understand how they operate like that.
Meanwhile, the police are investigating a gun attack on the St. Andrew offices of Nationwide News Network on Friday afternoon. A number of workers were reportedly in the car park area when shots rang out. No one was harmed, but several employees were left shaken. At least one motor vehicle was damaged. The government condemned the incident, with Information Minister Robert Morgan saying the government will never support any attempt to threaten, intimidate, or harm any member of the media. And the Press Association of Jamaica has called for a swift investigation of the matter. PAJ President Milton Walker says the vile attack constitutes an unprecedented assault on a news organization and represents a grave attack on the fundamental principles of press freedom. The Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, has advised travelers to Jamaica that no third-party entity or agent has been contracted to provide the online immigration passenger declaration form. Since September 1, all passengers coming to Jamaica are required to complete the online version of the form, replacing the previous paper document. PICA's update follows news that there are websites charging persons between $35 and $55 to complete the Immigration Customs C5 form. An internet search by the Gleaner revealed the presence of several websites charging a fee to fill out the immigration form. PICA says persons can access the form at www.enterjamaica.com and that there is no cost to use the facility. The Jamaican Parliament has started its review of proposed job descriptions for members of Parliament. A committee of members from the Senate and the House of Representatives met for the first time this week to finalize their work schedule, which will include taking submissions from members of the public. Chairman of the committee and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Marissa Dalrymple-Philibert, said it was a significant occasion.
Today, in this Parliament, our deliberations in the committee will mark a milestone and a paradigm shift in governance as we have known it for these past years. It does mark a new era in the life of our politics, and what it really represents is the mantra of government that comes to the service of our people. And I want to say, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me, that this is indeed a very bold move on the part of any administration at all.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness promised the job descriptions in the run-up to the 2016 general elections, but they were tabled in June 2023 amid a backlash over the massive salary increases for politicians. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, the new school year started on September 4, and Education Minister Favour Williams announced that air conditioning units will be installed in 30 schools soon to help reduce heat stress amid rising temperatures. For now, though, let's hear how Farm Primary and Infant School in Montego Bay St. James is coping.
Yes, it's quite hot. Children tend to get restless when it's too hot. And so far, we are not equipped with enough cooling system as it relates to fans. Well, the building is not so equipped for AC. That adjustments will have to be made where ACs are concerned. But fans, we definitely need to put some more fans in place. As I was saying earlier, the building was erected years ago. And so some of the rooms do not have enough plugs either. And so we'll have to call the electrician to get some more plugs in place to get those fans up and running. Some classes have 2 each, some just 1.
What type of fans do you have? Are they the industrial ones or just the regular?
Just the regular wall fans, a few standing ones.
And on average, how many students are in one class?
On average, about 22 students.
Before the heat wave, the place was so hot.
Right.
Then in the summer you have your heat, but last year, school year, we had excruciating temperature that was unbearable. At one point in time, I thought I was going literally crazy, and that's not a joke. That's how I felt. Alright, and I called my principal over the weekend, and I said to him that I asked him if we had any fans blown into the class of the school. He said, unfortunately not yet, because he was, the person was some other place on the school compound, but he has not gotten donation to the fan. And so, every man for themselves right now in the sport.